tried again the next night, and the next, and the next, and he tempted another shadow to try it with him. But at last their awful fate overtook them, for, instead of continuing to be shadows, they began to cast shadows, as foolish men say, and so they thickened and thickened till they vanished out of our world. They are now condemned to walk the earth a man and a woman, with death behind them and memories within them. Ah, brother shades, let us love one another, for we shall soon forget. We are not men, but shadows." The king turned away, and pitied the poor shadows far more than they pitied men.
"Oh, how we played with a musician one night!" exclaimed a shadow in another group, to which the king had first directed a passing thought, and then had stopped to listen. "Up and down we went, like the hammers and dampers on his piano. But he took his revenge on us. For after he had watched us for half an hour in the twilight, he rose and went to his instrument and played a shadow dance that fixed us all in sound forever. Each could tell the very notes meant for him, and as long as he played we could not stop, but went on dancing and dancing after the music, just as the musician, pleased. And he punished us well, for he nearly danced us all off our legs and out of shape into tired heaps of collapsed and palpitating darkness. We won't go near him for some time again, if we can only remember it. He had been very miserable all day, he was so poor, and we could not think of any way of comforting him except making him laugh. We did not succeed with our wildest efforts, but it turned out better than we had expected after all, for his shadow dance got him into notice, and he is quite popular now, making money fast. If he does not take care, we shall have other work to do with him by and by, poor fellow." "I and some others did the same for a poor playwriter once. He had a Christmas piece to write, and not being an original genius, it was not so easy for him to find a subject as it is for most of his class. I saw the trouble he was in, and collecting a few stray shadows, we acted, in dumb show of course, the funniest bit of nonsense we could think of, and it was quite successful. The poor fellow watched every motion, roaring with laughter at us, and delight at the ideas we put into his head. He turned it all into words and scenes and actions, and the piece came off with a splendid success." "But how long we have to look for a chance of doing anything worth doing," said a long, thin, especially lugubrious shadow. "I have only done one thing worth telling ever since we met last, but I am proud of that." "What was it? What was it?" rose from 20 voices. "I crept into a dining room one twilight, soon after Christmas Day. I had been drawn thither by the glow of a bright fire shining through red window curtains. At first I thought there was no one there, and was on the point of leaving the room and going out again into the snowy street, when I suddenly caught the sparkle of eyes. I found that they belonged to a little boy who lay very still on a sofa. I crept into a dark corner by the sideboard and watched him. He seemed very sad, and did nothing but stare into the fire. At last he sighed out, 'I wish mamma would come home.' Poor boy, thought I, there is no help for that but mamma. Yet I would try to while away the time for him. So out of my corner I stretched a long shadow arm, reaching all across the ceiling, and pretended to make a grab at him. He was rather frightened at first, but he was a brave boy, and soon saw that it was all a joke. So when I did it again, he made a clutch at me, and then we had such fun. For though he often sighed and wished mamma would come home, he always began again with me, and on we went with the wildest game. At last his mother's knock came to the door, and starting up in delight, he rushed into the hall to meet her, and forgot all about poor black me. But I did not mind that in the least, for when I glided out after him into the hall, I was well repaid for my trouble by hearing his mother say to him, "Why, Charlie, my dear, you look ever so much better since I left you." At that moment I slipped through the closing door, and as I ran across the snow, I heard the mother say, "What shadow can that be passing so quickly?" And Charlie answered with a merry laugh, "Oh, mamma, I suppose it must be the funny shadow that has been playing such games with me all the time you were out." As soon as the door was shut, I crept along the wall and looked in at the dining-room window, and I heard his mamma say, as she led him into the room, "What an imagination the boy has! Ha, ha, ha!" Then she looked at him, and the tears came in her eyes, and she stooped down over him, and I heard the sounds of a mingling kiss and sob. "I always look for nurseries full of children," said another, "and this winter I have been very fortunate. I am sure children belong especially to us. One evening, looking about in a great city, I saw through the window into a large nursery, where the odious gas had not yet been lighted. Round the fire sat a company of the most delightful children I had ever seen. They were waiting patiently for their tea. It was too good an opportunity to be lost. I hurried away, and gathering together 20 of the best shadows I could find, returned in a few moments, and entering the nursery, we danced on the walls one of our best dances. To be sure, it was mostly extemporized, but I managed to keep it in harmony by singing this song, which I made as we went on. Of course the children could not hear it. They only saw the motions that answered to it, but with them they seemed to be very much delighted indeed, as I shall presently prove to you. This was the song: "Swing, swang, swingle, swaff, flicker, flacker, fling, fluff. Thus we go to and fro, here and there, everywhere. Born and bred, never dead, only gone. On, come on, looming, glooming, spreading, fuming, shattering, scattering, parting, darting, settling, starting. All our life is a strife, and a wearying for rest on the darkness' friendly breast. Joining, splitting, rising, sitting, laughing, shaking, sides all aching, grumbling, grim and gruff, swingle, swangle, swaff. Now a knot of darkness, now dissolved gloom, now a pall of blackness, hiding all the room. Flicker, flacker, fluff, black and black enough. Dancing now like demons, lying like the dead. Gladly would we stop it, and go down to bed. But our work we still must do, shadow men as well as